Hi everybody, Colin from the Bike Dads, and today I'm going to take you through my winter project. This is an Evo Wreckoning, a 29er that I've converted to a 27.5 inch, 180 front, 160 rear, full suspension bike for my 11-year-old. I'll take you through all the pricing, we'll run a total at the very end, and I'll tell you why I picked the parts I did. So fully built, this bike comes in at 28.5 pounds. And this was my goal primarily, is to get a sub 30 pound bike for my 11-year-old, and I achieved that with the part spec I picked. And the only reason I was able to do this at a reasonable price, and when I say reasonable, let's take into consideration this is mountain biking, is that the frame was on sale at Jensen. So anybody could have gone on that site and picked this frame up for the same price as me, just over $1,500. It was an excellent start to build a bike that would be perfect for my 11-year-old. So this is the Evo Wreckoning LB. So it's dead stock now, they no longer make it, but it was exactly what I was after from a geometry perspective. It has a 66-degree head angle, you can get it down to 65.5 with the flip chip, and it has a reach of about 415 millimeters, and that was the reach I was after, around 410 to 415 for him. With the relatively short seat tube, I think it's about 390 millimeters, I'm able to squeeze them on here when I put on the 27.5 inch wheels. My one concern was the bottom bracket drop, that it might be a little too low, but I've got really short cranks on here. I'll show you in a minute. They're 152 millimeters. And after I've built the bike up and such, I may even consider dropping it down to the extra low setting. So that's the benefit of always having your finger on the pulse of sailed bikes and sail frames, is that when you do find something that fits your needs, and particularly when you get these older bikes, 2-3 years old, where the reach numbers are still relatively modest compared to what we see now, you can squish the kids on and you can build something totally awesome. So after the frame, the next big acquisition, of course, is the fork. And I went with a Fox Performance fork. I got this off Jensen again. Great deal. It was on sale. Anybody could have purchased this fork. It's an OEM fork, so they were up there for $575, I believe, is what the price was. This is a Fox 36 Performance Series, 180 millimeters of travel. Because it's a 29er bike, it has a similar axle to crown as like a 160 29er. So I'm very comfortable putting this longer travel fork on, and I just want him to get the most out of the suspension anyways. The intention of this bike originally was to be a bike park bike. So we ride Whistler, and this is where I wanted this bike to shine. Now I was gonna put on a super small downhill cassette and such, but then I ended up changing my mind a little bit and sort of having the option. I put on a wider range cassette, and I'll probably even throw in a drop post eventually. So we have a nice carbon frame here, and I wanted to pair that with some lightweight parts. And the main things you really got to consider are crankset, tires, and wheel set. And those three things in combination with the frame really brings down the weight for the kids. So I went with the Trailcraft crankset. It's an alloy spindle with 152 millimeter crank arms. And you also get a bottom bracket, and that comes in at $199 for all those things. And it's about the lightest crankset going for the kids. Now wheel set, this is the other one where you can really lighten the weight up, and I got some wheels built up. They're Race Face Arc 25s, so they accept a 2.4 tire really nicely, and this was my goal. I didn't go for the sort of really wide rims that add a bit of weight for the kids. I went with like alloy nipples. I went with the lightest weight hubs I could find for them, and it makes a heck of a lot of difference. Set about tubeless, you have that low rotational weight. It works fantastic for the kids. And if you find a good wheel builder, I mean, these cost me $500, which in the grand scheme of things for a hand-built wheel set isn't that bad. And for the rubber to go on those wheels, I put on Magic Marys. I got them for a great deal. They're the 2.35 Evo snakeskin, I believe, Addix compound. They're pretty lightweight, and they only cost me $40 a piece, so $80 for rubber, can't beat that. So I ended up putting on SRAM guide brakes, as I actually had these brand new just sitting around in the garage from a bike I bought, and I took them off right away. But let's just say, $260 for brakes. I would have put on some, probably, I don't know, maybe even the guides or some Derailleurs or SLX Shimano brakes. So let's say $260 for the brakes and $80 for the rotors, and you've got yourself some brakes. So for some of the other bits, let's say a chain, I used a KMC 12-speed chain, it cost me 40 bucks. I got a GX shifter on there. That's about $45. I've got a GX derailleur, which was 130 US dollars. And I put on the Ethirteen Cassette, so the wide-ranging cassette from Ethirteen, the two-piece cassette, and that cost me about $175. I went that way just because I found a really good deal on it, and it is relatively light. It's considerably lighter than a GX. It doesn't quite shift as good as the SRAM stuff, but hardly noticeable. Definitely the kids won't notice it at all. So for the saddle, right now I just have one of my old saddles on there. I've got a really lightweight carbon railed saddle from AliExpress coming. I think it was $30. And the carbon post, again, that was from Amazon. That was $25. The carbon bar that I put on here, the flat bar, that was $25 as well. And I really wanted the carbon bar just to start out because I wanted the bar height as low as possible, as he is really small for the bike. So that worked out really well. We'll see how it holds up. I'm crossing my fingers on that one. And AliExpress or Amazon can be good for a wide range of parts. The stem, right now I have a Renthal stem that I'm taking off there. It's mine. But I have this that's going on there really soon. It's a stem that I purchased from AliExpress. It weighs the same as the Renthal. It's also, I think it's 35 millimeters in length. It's going to fit perfect. And it cost me $15. So you can't beat that. I also put on some really thin grips. These are the Loam Lab Grips. They have a really thin diameter to them, but they're still really comfortable. So if you have, smaller hands yourself, or you prefer thin grips, have a look at the Loam Labs. They're 25 bucks. For pedals, I have the Foundation pedals from Jensen on here. They're really affordable and lightweight. I think the price is around $40. Throw in a derailleur cable and a set of tubeless valves, and this bike comes in at $3,630. Now that is expensive. We realize this. But the thing is, there's nothing else quite like this. I really wanted to do this for a long time, and I think it does pay benefits. And I have a feeling I'll either be able to part this out and sell most of this stuff for a little bit of a loss, or someone else will come along and want to buy the whole bike that has a passion for mountain biking like I do. So I realize it's this kind of thing's just for the mountain bike enthusiast, but if you want more information on bikes you can buy off the shelf, everything is complete in this sizing, you can go look at 27.5-inch bikes on our website. That's www.thebikedads.com, and we'll see you on the trails.